What's up guys, and welcome to yet another video. Now if you were like me or the millions of other viewers that were able to witness WWDC 2020 on Monday, you were probably super excited by all of Apple's amazing announcements that they made that day, starting from iOS and iPad OS 14, Mac OS Big Sur, as well as their big transition to Apple Silicon for their Mac lineup. So plenty of things to be stoked about if you're an Apple fan. And I'll be making videos about each and every one of these announcements in the coming weeks. But I actually got my hands on the iOS 14 developer beta, and I've had a couple of days to sort of play around with it and determine whether or not these features are something that us users would be excited about in anticipation of the public release this fall. So I made a little video to go over every single one of the features that I see myself using on a daily basis, and I think might benefit you as well as a potential iOS 14 user. So let's get straight to it. Now at first glance, you'd notice the home screen looking vastly different, and that's thanks to the addition of widgets. Now, I'm so glad that Apple has finally incorporated widgets into iOS 14, just because it gives users a greater degree of customizability that just simply was missing in the previous versions of iOS. And it was something that kept iPhone users lagging behind their Android counterparts, just because of the fact that they couldn't have these really well-designed custom widgets in their home screen that would allow them to get access to information that they need quickly. And I'm so glad that Apple has finally got around to adding this. It's pretty easy to go ahead and manipulate these widgets, add more to any page on your iPhone, and even go ahead and move them pretty easily across every page. You get the option of adding widgets of 3 different sizes, as I've demonstrated here, and you even have the option of hovering widgets over one another in case you want to save space and just have one single widget that allows you to pretty much contain information from multiple. So it's a great sort of space saver if you're someone who prefers a minimalistic sort of look on your iPhone. You also have the option of including a Smart Stack widget that essentially is the same idea. You have multiple widgets sort of combined into one, and you can even edit the order of these widgets so that as you scroll through them, you have your information prioritized accordingly. So these are really nice features that Apple has thought about when keeping iPhone users in mind, and I really see myself using these extensively on a daily basis. Now, another thing I really love about iOS 14 is the fact that you can really reduce any clutter. Now, what I mean by this is just limiting the number of pages that you see on your iPhone. Now, we all have the tendency of sort of installing a lot of apps and having them accumulate over time to the point where when you navigate through your iPhone, it's just overwhelming to see the number of downloads you have. So all you have to do is hold down that home screen, and then you'll see your page bar at the bottom. Tap that and you can uncheck the pages that you don't want visible anymore. And this has turned out to be a really useful feature for me personally, just because I hate having to look at apps I don't really want to use, and I just see myself using the search function anyways if I want to get quick access to apps. So just having a bunch of pages that show my most important widgets and maybe a couple of apps here and there is all I need. And I feel like a lot of users would find this feature super useful and just keep their iPhone clutter-free. Now, if you're like me and have a ton of folders on your iPhone that you don't use and that just adds to all the clutter, then you'd probably greatly benefit from the app library feature on iOS 14 that categorizes your apps accordingly and has a really quick and easy to use search function, making the entire navigation process a lot more seamless. Now, with this feature alone, I just don't see myself using folders anymore. I honestly would just have 2 or 3 pages of a couple of apps that I need quick access to, some widgets, and then the app library for some super easy navigation as well as Siri suggestions. So I just feel like iOS 14 already is giving me a lot more of a refined user experience. Now, the search function in iOS 14 also seen some minor improvements. Another fun thing about it is that you can actually search for emojis now, which I think is pretty cool. So if you go ahead and just throw in your favorite emoji on the search bar and maybe even look it up on Safari, you'll see some pretty interesting results. I think that was a fun little update that Apple made. And the entire search function just seems a lot more efficient, and the indexing has definitely improved. So again, another minor improvement that I definitely see myself using, because pretty much everyone searches for apps or information on the go on their iPhone. So a noticeable upgrade, and something that I feel like a lot of iOS users would notice with the iOS 14 upgrade. Now, a lot of the features I just mentioned are mostly cosmetic, with the inclusion of widgets and a few minor improvements here and there, but the following category of features that Apple likes to call compact UI gives us some pretty interesting updates. Now, firstly, with compact UI, we see that incoming phone calls now appear as banners as opposed to the entire screen being taken over. And I find this particularly useful just because if I'm doing something really important like writing out an email or, let's be honest, playing an intense game here and there, the last thing I want is my entire phone screen being taken over by an incoming call by someone. Now, the other cool thing about compact UI is picture-in-picture mode, which again is something that is long overdue. As an iPhone user, I kept sort of counting down the days till we'd actually get this feature on our devices, but it's finally here. I've tested this with both FaceTime calls. You're able to resize and move around the window and pretty much make your entire workflow seem a lot more seamless and sort of integrate with that FaceTime call more easily. And I've even tried this out with a video on Safari. And I've been able to sort of resize this, swipe it to the right, move it around, and just manipulate that window any way I like. There's some things that don't really have the support yet, like YouTube, but that makes sense given that the developers haven't quite made that update for iOS, but I'd expect this to be rolled out very, very shortly. Another cool feature that comes with compact UI and iOS 14 is the new Siri. Now, just like the phone calls, this won't take up your entire screen. It shows up at the bottom as like a simple sort of circle that acts like your regular voice assistant, the good old Siri we're all used to. And it gives a much more sort of organic feel to the operating system now. It seems a lot more user-friendly. Information just seems more accessible. It doesn't interrupt your workflow. And I definitely do think this is a nice change, although I was never someone who used Siri extensively. Apart from shortcuts here and there, I'm not much of a voice assistant person. Now, you'd notice that iOS 14 also comes with a Translate app. I haven't really been able to compare it with Google Translate. I feel like that would still be my sort of default option when it comes to getting in those quick translations. But it's nice that iOS has an integrated version of Translate that works pretty seamlessly, so no complaints there at all. Now, we even have a couple of secret features that Apple didn't really mention in too much detail at WWDC. And these revolve around the entire back tap feature as well as sound recognition, which I think are super cool. If you go ahead to your settings, go over to accessibility, and then go down to touch, you'll see a little back tap option at the very bottom that allows you to customize your double tap and triple tap options. I've set the double tap to a simple screenshot and my triple tap option to using the camera app, or at least taking a photo with the camera app using a Siri shortcut. And it works pretty well. There's a slight delay that doesn't sort of work as well as using this side and power button to take a screenshot, but it's still a nice to have, and you can definitely customize this to your liking, from taking a screenshot to opening an app of your choice. So it's a nice addition that I see myself using pretty often. Now, another really cool feature that comes with iOS 14 is sound recognition. And you can navigate this pretty easily using the exact same method. Go over to settings, go over to accessibility, and then scroll down until you see sound recognition. And over here you have plenty of different noises, common household and animal noises you can choose from, as well as things like baby crying noises, shouting, alarms, so plenty of different things you can choose from, and your iPhone will detect these and warn you if it hears these noises. So it's particularly useful if you're going to be plugged in for a long period of time and you would need to sort of rely on this to, I guess, warn you of door knocks or screams or anything that might be somewhat concerning or worthy of your attention. I have the water running option enabled. I think it's sort of comforting to know that your place is never really going to get flooded thanks to the sound recognition system that Apple has employed with iOS 14. So definitely a nice added bonus. Now, another bonus feature with any iPhone running iOS 14 is that your phone will basically let you know when your camera or microphone is being used with a little light right next to the webcam on the top. So if your camera is being used, you'll notice a green light at the very top of your iPhone, and the same applies to your microphone. You'll notice a yellow or orange light that pops up. So I'm definitely a fan of this because I'm used to having my laptop or Mac or whatever it is let me know when the webcam is being used, and it's nice to have this feature transferred over to my iPhone. But that's it for me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. And as always, leave your thoughts down in the comment section. I'll try my best to respond to every single one of you. But yeah, I hope you're as excited as I am for the public release of iOS 14. It should be out this September, and it might be something that comes out along with the iPhone 12. We'll have to wait on the news surrounding that device. But thank you once again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.